No, just if you're comfortable with the question for DOE, I know Tika had brought it up and we had kind of messed and played with it 2 weeks ago, and this is where we've gotten it. And hopefully we'll get some answer from Secretary Holiday about what after COVID learning looks like for DOE and what type of supports is DOE providing to LEAs.
I mean, look, Tika, does that? I thought I saw Tika's on the phone.
Tika's on. I just don't know if she's
okay.
Yeah, Tika's ordering in Wawa.
What are you getting?
A caramel latte. I told Haley I was jumping off from the website onto my phone to run up since we had a little 15 minutes and I hadn't made it back yet.
Oops.
If you're in there and you're thinking about getting the peanut butter fudge coffee because it sounds good, don't do it.
Oh no.
It
Well,
doesn't
I
actually.
won't.
It doesn't actually taste like that.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah.
But sorry, Kelly, can you repeat the question again?
I sure can. It's we have it as, what does after COVID learning look like for DOE and what type of supports is DOE providing to the LEAs?
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds good. If we could also just have like a little description of that instead of just like a list. Okay, I'm providing this, this, and this. Just speaking just briefly to what that looks like. Like if I'm providing tutoring, it may look like, and give some examples of ways that it is, and not necessarily theoretically, because what I've heard previously has just kind of been like, oh, okay, these are plans or suggestions, but more firmly, like not the what people can choose from or their options. There's a lot of local control, and that's where some of the concern with the equity pieces come for me. You're welcome. And sometimes it's just even being, not everybody's even aware of things all in the same manner. And so just kind of speaking to, well, what is actually happening or what that might actually look like a little bit.
Okay. And we can even ask add to it, how are they ensuring equity?
Right. And then I think another good question would be, how can we support that effort? And then also even just how can generally the community and families support that effort? So Kelly, I know you and I had talked about, like, you know, we're planning back in January for what summer might look like for our kiddos. And so, you know, helping be a part of whether it's a focus group with some suggested activities or kind of thought through that, or just what would you need for us to help be successful? Because it's planning, I think, and the more we delay planning, the more or the deeper of a hole I think we're getting in.
Okay. Okay. We will get that into something and we'll send that over to DOE early next week, and Matt will copy you and the senator, even though we know she's out for a little bit, hopefully.
You know what, Tika, if you have time, what would be helpful is, you know, when you're back at a computer, you know, I mean, you have obviously a pretty specific and informed idea of what you'd like him to address. I mean, if you wouldn't mind, just so I'm sure that I get it right, if you wouldn't mind just sending me like a 2 or 3 sentence email so that I can make sure that I'm in turn asking him to talk about the right stuff.
Sure, that sounds good. I can do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else as far as the June 2nd meeting?
No.
Okay. I mean, otherwise, looks like generally the usual, you know, the usual order of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the work groups, I thought I saw that Ray signed on. I don't know if any of the other co-chairs of any of the other work groups are on, or if it's even fair to Chuck just joined us too.
Just jumped.
So Ray, I don't know if there's anything in terms of an update that you wanted to provide. We know that there's a meeting coming up, I guess, on Monday that's going to focus on the data dashboard and legislation. But if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Oh, Ray, I think you're muted.
Muted.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Matt. Haley has gone through a legislative tracker and she has lifted out into a smaller compilation, which is still very rich, that those pieces of legislation relating to public education. And we went through that subset and highlighted proposed legislation. Of course, is in various stages of development or action that align with the priorities of the social determinants work group. There are a few that are related to educator funding or fellowships. I can't remember what it is. For people that are already educators, loan forgiveness, changing some of the language around who the priority groups are. And so we've asked Haley to share that with the educators work group. So we'll spend time going through that. This is in response to our last or our previous leadership meeting. Are we advocating as Reading for particular pieces of legislation? And if not advocating, at least being aware of what is on the docket. So we'll spend time doing that first. The data dashboard is more of an update. There's quite a bit of work to be done. As you know, Matt, the DOE is the entity that will be working with the vendor that we have identified, the Data Service Center, to construct a memorandum of agreement and a contract. So that is making progress. We have to spend quite a bit more time refining what our vision for what the data dashboard will look like and how it will be used. It's just collecting information for the sake of collecting information is not useful. So that's just to embellish what Haley has put on the agenda. Any questions?
Thanks, Ray.
Hmm?
I just said thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone have any questions for Ray? Okay. I thought I saw Chuck signed on too. Chuck, our protocol for the day is that anyone who signs on, we call on them within 60 seconds of their joining the meeting. So
Sounds good.
we just did that to Ray, and now we'll do it to you too.
All right. So settlement, we do have a meeting coming up. There's some ongoing discussion again about the Ombudsperson program. We have some folks in the committee who are very interested in the outcome of that. I am too. This is just not the committee, but my personal view on it is, I still haven't really seen what it's going to look like or how it's being rolled out. So, I'd like to see that. But the other major activity we have going on is just like other groups looking at legislation. We're in the final months of the 2-year session. So, you've got stuff coming at us rapid fire. We just need to watch that and see, how that fits in with what we're doing. And again, our partners, Haley, Brandon, Kelly, they're gonna keep tracking that for us, and then we'll discuss that at the settlement meeting, just see how it all fits in. So that's where we are.
Anybody have any questions for Chuck? Okay. And I don't think we have folks from the governance or education educator work groups on, unless I've missed them.
No, we don't.
Does anyone have an idea if the redistricting legislation has moved at all? I don't think I've seen anything filed, but I was hoping to get an update from NAMD, but was wondering if anyone knew.
I haven't heard that it has.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see anything this morning when I was checking.
Matt, for a future meeting, I think it would be helpful to hear from those of you that are in various leadership roles with the Reading Consortium, to go back and revisit the question from our very first meeting. How are we defining equity and what does equity look like? Because that input really is central to the development of this data dashboard. You know, with the investments that are being made, the interventions, I believe that one of our charges is to say, are those investments over time, because it does take time, or what kind of outcomes are we seeing that's different than the outcomes we were seeing before those investments? That helps with either sustaining the investments or making course corrections.
Sure, I think that seems like a worthwhile use of time. I mean, it may make sense for one of the work groups to take a first crack at it.
Well, that is the work of the social determinants work group, but it goes beyond the scope of what we have been working on. We haven't been gathering data around academic outcomes, but at the end of the day, this is an educational, initiative. We haven't been gathering data around the progress of recruitment and retention of educators. So when we did our first brainstorming activity with a very large number of both work group members as well as the public, we got a big data dump in terms of what people want us to look at. But we're being asked to refine those data points. And so what I'll do is I'll work with Jeff and Haley to have to frame some questions and to share what we already have, the input we already have. And then perhaps people can weigh in and say, this is what we believe to be the priorities, because we're not going to get everything in the first phase of this dashboard. It's just too voluminous of information. So let us work on that and then send something out to you and Senator Lockman, and subsequently to the various members of this group. What we don't want to do is we don't want to get to what we believe is phase one of a data dashboard and have people say, well, why didn't you think about this? Or why didn't you make this choice? Or why didn't you make this a priority? So we want to avoid that.
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, and given that we want to move ahead with that project, better to do that sooner rather than later. Do we have any members of the public who wanted to comment? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
I would just want to throw something. My inner librarian is compelling me to do this. I was a librarian back in the day, for those who don't know. And public information it's a big deal to me. And legislation is coming at us, from all directions right now. And I just want to make sure everybody's aware that you can subscribe. You don't have to check the legislative site every day and see what bills are rolling through. You can subscribe if you, this is for anybody watching the video too after the fact. If you Google Delaware Notification Services, it'll bring you to a link which is legit, denotificationservices.bbcportal.com. It's through, I think, a company called Blackboard that the state subscribes to, or subscribes to service with. And you can subscribe to Title 14, any legislation dealing with a certain title. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that, so we're not going to the legislation site every day and trying to because you'll spend all day trying to find out what's going on, but getting those emails every day, I get them sometime overnight, it's great.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
I don't think I've ever heard the phrase inner librarian before, so.
It's in there.
Well, I apologize for us starting late. And I don't want to keep folks in, settlement and social determinants groups are both, both have meetings scheduled and both have pretty substantive work on their agendas. And I know that Noel has been working offline with the Department of Education to try to get some of that work group's programs up and running. So I think everyone is busy. So Haley, unless you think I'm forgetting something, I think we're in good shape.
Matt, just so you know, Haley and I, and with our DSU partners, we're working on the consortium's annual report that summarizes the work going on for the past year and any legislation and anything we've been supporting. So Ray, Chuck, anybody who's been working as a co-chair should be getting something within the next few weeks just to review, add to, whatever. And we're also working excuse me, on finalizing the Wilmington data report for the 2020-21 school year. So that'll be done by the end of June as well.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.